For years, Matt Moneymaker was the loudest voice in the Bigfoot world, but recently, something changed. His posts stopped, his public appearances disappeared, and insiders whispered that he saw something he was never supposed to capture near a decommissioned military base. Tonight, Matt breaks his silence and reveals evidence so disturbing it sent government contractors to his doorstep. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe, because what he's about to expose has never been acknowledged publicly and may explain why people near that base keep vanishing. Before Matt Moneymaker ever went public, before the TV cameras and the memes, there was a file in the BFRO archive marked only with a red line and a date, 1997. It referenced a facility along the Pacific Northwest foothills called Fort Cinder Point. Official records say it was decommissioned after a fuel containment leak. Locals laugh at that explanation. According to them, the base never closed. It just went underground, literally. Rumors swirled among hikers and old loggers. Low-frequency sirens drifting through the trees, convoys of windowless trucks rolling through at night, and every couple of months, the forest going dead quiet. No insects, no birds, not even wind. To seasoned trackers, silence is more dangerous than noise. Those reports eventually landed on Matt's desk. At first, he dismissed them, until he noticed something unusual. Every witness described movement in the tree line, upright figures that dropped to all fours when light hit them. Not bear posture, not cougar behavior, something else. So Matt did what he'd always done. He followed the trail. Off-season, without his TV crew, without producers, just a thermal scope, audio gear, and his map marked with the locations of complaints. When he arrived near the base perimeter, he noticed something strange immediately. Two fences, one rusty and neglected, one new. Razor wire gleamed under moonlight. The woods surrounding the base felt wrong. Trees leaned inward unnaturally, their trunks curved like they were bending toward something underground. Matt set his first recorder. 10 minutes later, he heard a faint metallic humming, steady, rhythmic, coming from below soil level. Ventilation, machinery, something operating where no facility should be. Then he found the tracks. 6 impressions in soft clay, each deeper than his boots, each spaced at distances only possible with powerful legs. The stride was too long for a human and too heavy for a bear. What chilled him most wasn't the depth, it was the subtle, inward turn of the toes, a primate trait not found in North American wildlife. Just as he knelt to document them, a distant double-tone siren pulsed through the woods. The trees trembled. For a full 5 seconds, everything obeyed a command he couldn't hear. Then the siren stopped, and from somewhere beyond the perimeter fence, something answered, not with a howl, but a low, layered vibration he felt in his ribs. Matt lifted his parabolic mic. Whatever was out there answered the siren in fluent rhythm, and it wasn't alone. Matt stayed crouched in the clay, breath shallow, eyes fixed on the dense tree line beyond the fence. The woods didn't move, not naturally. Instead, the shadows shifted in deliberate, measured intervals, like something was repositioning itself between trunk and darkness. Movement without sound. Predators don't announce their presence. They observe. He lifted his thermal viewer. At first, he saw nothing but heat ghosts, rabbit trails, residual warmth on rocks. Then, in the upper edge of the scope, a shape flickered, tall, upright, narrow head, shoulders hunched forward in a posture no human stands in. It swayed side to side, like testing light angles. When the figure realized it was being watched, it stopped swaying entirely. Total stillness. Matt steadied the scope. The creature's head tilted, slowly, intelligently, like a scientist examining a specimen. Then 2 more shapes bled into the thermal palette from behind it. Their heat signatures overlapped, almost synchronized, but their silhouettes were wrong. Limbs too long, knees bending subtly backwards. Every instinct in Matt's body screamed, leave. He didn't. Instead, he whispered a vocalization, one he'd recorded years earlier, a classic whoop, a harmless test. He wanted to gauge whether these were just large primates, but what answered wasn't a whoop. It was a triple click, followed by a resonant harmonic downshift that vibrated his tiny chest mic into distortion. Matt felt the sound more than he heard it. The trees rippled, leaves trembled, trembling even though the air stayed perfectly still. A second cluster of clicks echoed back from the opposite direction, something answering, communicating, coordinated. Then came the first visual horror. All three upright shapes dropped to all fours, without bending their torsos. Their spines didn't round or flex. They simply hinged downward, joints rotating sideways like the mechanics of a folding machine. Every hair on Matt's arms stood up. Predators don't drop like that unless they're preparing to advance. The double siren pulsed again, shorter this time, and the creatures froze mid-crawl. Heads snapped toward the base. They waited, obedient, like soldiers responding to command. Then, without warning, they retreated into darkness, vanishing in complete silence. Matt exhaled for the first time in what felt like minutes. He lowered his scope. That's when he saw something new. Boot prints, fresh, not his, leading deeper into the restricted woods. He followed them with his eyes until they faded into brush. He wasn't the only human out here tonight. Something, or someone, was tracking them, and he didn't realize the boot prints followed a perfect spiral path. Predators mark straight lines. Researchers mark spiral. Something intelligent was cataloging, not hunting. Matt snapped a photo of the spiral boot pattern, heart hammering. Thick pine canopies swallowed the sky, letting only thin ribbons of moonlight touch the dirt. Something about the silence felt unnatural. Silence had intent. His instincts, not his curiosity, pulled him deeper. 20 minutes later, the boot trail led him to a low ridge overlooking a ravine. Matt expected more trees, more tracks. Instead, there was infrastructure, a rectangular concrete trench lined with steel rails, covered by slatted metal grates. Not military fencing, containment fencing. From below, cool air seeped upward like breath. He crouched. The grate hummed, pulsing faintly, as if something alive was exhaling heat from the earth. That's when he smelled it. Metal, rot, wet fur. He shifted the grate just enough to peek down. The ditch held several long, black sealed bags, body-sized. The plastic bulged around angular shapes, not smooth enough for human limbs. Some bags had scratch impressions pressed outward, enormous claws having buckled plastic. From the inside, a light flickered on behind him. "Don't move." The flashlight beam stabbed across his shoulders. Matt froze, palms open. A man in brown contractor fatigues approached. Not military, but military adjacent. He wasn't frantic. He wasn't angry. He was scared. "You shouldn't be here," the man whispered. His eyes darted toward the fence line, scanning the tree line. Not for backup, but for watchers. Matt asked what was in the bags. The contractor didn't answer right away. He swallowed hard. "When the power cycles drop, they try to climb out. Your timing is incredibly unlucky." Matt pressed, "What are they?" The man sighed, slumping against the concrete edge. "They're not Bigfoot. They're not animals. They're subjects." He hesitated. "They aren't breeding. They're adapting." Before Matt could respond, a distant double-tone siren pulsed again. This time, the contractor flinched violently. "We triggered a sweep. If they see 2 heat signatures instead of 1, they coordinate differently." He shoved a folded map into Matt's vest. "There are tunnels. Don't stand near ventilation. Don't mimic their vocalizations. Don't talk if you hear clicking behind you. They listen first." Matt demanded more answers, but the man was already backing away. "Leave now," he said. "And if you wake up and find spirals around your house, don't run. Running means you're ready." The forest behind them rustled. Not branches, not wind. Something shifting downward, heavy, curious. Matt didn't wait. He ran. And as he fled across the ridge, the siren's echo followed him like a warning heartbeat. And something answered it from beneath the earth, tapping the grate softly in return. Tap. Tap, tap, 3 clicks. Intelligent. Matt didn't stop running until the forest thinned and moonlight cut through in silver beams. His lungs burned, breath scraping like sand across his throat, but the woods behind him stayed quiet, too quiet. Not silence of absence, silence of observation. He killed his flashlight and let his eyes adjust. Darkness swallowed everything at first. Then shapes began to emerge. Halfway up a slope, between 2 leaning pines, a figure stood. Matt froze. The silhouette was tall, shoulders hunched forward like an ape trying to appear smaller. But it wasn't hair that caught moonlight. It was skin, pale, smooth, almost translucent. The creature leaned sideways, not turning its head, but rotating its entire upper torso like a hinge. Matt lifted his parabolic mic, hands trembling. What he heard wasn't breathing. It was a low mechanical whirring, like gears shifting inside a chest cavity. He whispered a basic whoop again, testing. The thing responded instantly, not with a vocalization, but a perfect mimic of the pitch. But the tone was layered, like three voices stacked slightly out of sync. Matt's spine prickled. This wasn't copying. It was sampling, like it was analyzing resonance. Then, another sound. From deeper in the trees came a rolling chuff, followed by the distinct crack of branches bending downward with enormous weight. Something massive was moving toward the watcher. The pale figure shifted posture, dropping to all fours without a hint of joint strain. It turned its head last, a delayed rotation, as if its spine obeyed a different blueprint. Matt slowly backed away. Leaves barely rustled beneath his boots, but they responded. The watcher's head snapped toward the sound. No eyeshine, no blink, just shadowed sockets like recessed cavities. It stepped forward, once, twice, deliberate. Matt lifted his thermal scope, praying the lens wouldn't glint. Through the display, he found something worse than a body. Cold spots on its skin, not hot like mammals, not uniform like fur. Segments of chilled tissue, arranged in repeating patterns like external armor had fused with biology. And then it blinked, not vertical, not horizontal, inward, like fleshy shutters closing from both sides. The branches behind it imploded inward with a crash. Matt swung the scope just in time to catch a second figure climbing down a tree, backwards, limbs rotating beyond natural range. Its face never left his direction. Both creatures froze. Then, a third tone siren pulsed from the base. The watchers stopped advancing, heads twitching toward the sound in synchrony, responding, obeying. And every creature Matt had seen retreated toward the siren, like iron filings to a magnet. Through the quiet, Matt's recorder picked up a final whisper of layered breath. You shouldn't speak. Except Matt hadn't spoken. Something in the dark was speaking through his microphone. Matt didn't sleep when he got home. He dumped the audio file into his editing software and stared at the waveform. The siren pulse appeared clean, 2 perfect peaks. But the response from the creatures was a stacked series of frequencies, almost like layered piano keys struck in microscopic delays. That's impossible for biological vocal cords. He isolated the sound. It got worse. Hidden between the clicks were subharmonics, tones so low they shouldn't exist without machinery. Below them were overtones only primates produce. And beneath those was something else entirely, a faint metallic breathing, like vibrating metal plates expanding and contracting. It wasn't natural. It wasn't synthetic. It was both. He sent the file to his friend, an acoustic analyst who owed him favors. The reply arrived at 3:14 a.m. "Delete this! Now!" Matt called him. The analyst answered on the first ring, whispering like someone was in the room. "These aren't vocals," he said. "They're commands." The siren signals ground activity. The creatures respond with status codes. Matt's stomach hollowed. He asked what status codes meant. "They're reporting. Roll call. Something is checking where every unit is located during power cycle." Before Matt could speak, his friend cut him off. "Your microphone picked up something else. Not voice, pressure, like a throat that opens in 3 sections. And then the bombshell, I ran the spectrogram through pattern recognition. Someone else has been recording these since 1998. Every time there's a power outage near Fort Cinder Point, sightings spike. And those responses, they get faster, more coordinated." Matt asked if the analyst could send proof. "No," the man whispered. "My system crashed when I exported the files. Blue screens, then my webcam turned on by itself. Seconds later, the call dropped." Matt replayed his audio again. At the very end, so faint most human ears would miss it, was a new sound, a hollow tap, repeated slowly, 3 times, like knuckles against glass. He muted the speakers. The tapping kept going. It wasn't on the file anymore. It was coming from his window. Matt approached slowly, heart in his throat. Outside, just beyond the curtains, 3 long dents pressed into the condensation. Not fingerprints, not claws, more like indentation from teeth, and underneath them, drawn perfectly in fog, 3 vertical marks, the same cadence from the forest. Someone, or something, now knew where he lived. The morning after the tapping, Matt tried to ground himself in routine. Coffee, notes, emails, distraction. But when he opened his laptop, something was wrong. Every BFRO report within a 12-mile radius of Fort Cinder Point, dozens of sightings going back 20 years, had vanished from the database. Not deleted, removed from the index. He typed direct URLs from memory. 404, page not found. Then another glitch. When he searched Cinder Point, the autofill suggestion read, restricted in red text. No one at BFRO had access to restricted tags. That was server level. His phone buzzed. It was one of his veteran field investigators, voice shaking. All my reports from that region, gone. Even the witness names. And Matt, 2 of the witnesses don't answer calls anymore. Matt froze. Witnesses don't just disappear. He checked social media for updates. Instead, he found something chilling. Every time he tried to tweet, the compose box flickered, then grayed out. His cursor froze mid-keystroke. After 3 attempts, his account forcibly logged out. A message appeared. Your activity violates protective review. He wasn't banned. He wasn't warned. He was being silenced algorithmically. Then the calls started. Unknown number. No caller ID. Silence when he answered. Breathing, not human panting. Mechanical, rhythmic, like something inhaling through 3 channels at once. Next, colleagues began backing away. One apologized, voice trembling. Matt, please stop contacting witnesses. We signed NDAS. They're monitoring our devices now. Monitoring? Then he checked his front door. A package sat on the porch. No postage. Inside, a printed stack of his own emails, private drafts that never left his computer. Someone had accessed his writing while offline. At the bottom page was a handwritten note. They adapt to behaviors. You are predictable. That night, something stood behind his property line. Tall, still. Its silhouette bent forward like it was sniffing the ground. Then it began clicking. 3 beats. Pause. 3 beats. The cadence from his recording. Matt flicked his porch light on. The silhouette didn't run. It simply leaned away, disappearing backwards into darkness, without turning around. Joints folding like hinges. When Matt returned inside, he noticed the back window condensation again. 3 dents. Same position, same spacing. But this time, right below the marks, was something new. Dragged across the glass in a finger-like smear. Run equals permission. Matt barely slept after the message on his window. At sunrise, he drove 2 hours to meet the BFRO investigator who'd whispered warnings. When Matt arrived, the man was pacing outside his cabin. Eyes bloodshot, hands shaking. He pointed toward the tree line without speaking. Matt listened. Silence. That same predatory quiet. Inside, the investigator pulled out a hard drive wrapped in foil. They can hear electronics, he whispered. They mimic idle power signatures. He plugged it into a battery-powered laptop and showed Matt footage he'd captured near Cinder Point the night before. In frame, a ventilation grate at the base's perimeter. Steam poured upward, then stopped abruptly, like someone turned off the breath of a furnace. Something rose into view, not climbing, unfolding, vertebrae clicking into place with mechanical precision. Its skin was smooth, but webbed with darker grooves, heat diffusion channels. Then the video glitched. 3 black frames in a row, each frame showing the creature closer. Not walking, jumping frames in perfect still poses, like someone dragging it forward in time. The investigator slammed the laptop shut, sweating. It doesn't move when watched. It moves when observed. Matt didn't understand. The man clarified, they're quantum predators. Awareness restricts them. But the moment consciousness flickers, fear, distraction, they advance. Suddenly, the cabin lights flickered. Once, twice. That double-tone siren pulsed from miles away, faint but unmistakable. The investigator's face went white. The power cycle, he breathed. When the grid resets, they migrate. Outside, brush shifted, not like footsteps, like something passing through leaves without disturbing weight. Splits? Phase displacement? Matt didn't know. Then the investigator whispered, they're not breaking out, they're let out. Matt grabbed his gear, rushing for the truck. The siren pulsed again. Shadows stretched unnaturally long along the driveway. A silhouette leaned from behind a pine, torso bending further than bone should allow. It tracked them, not with eyes, but with sonar clicks bouncing off the truck's frame. They drove, hard. 15 miles later, multiple black SUVs blocked the road. Men in plain clothes stepped out, palms up. Not hostile, just tired. One approached Matt's window. We're not your enemy, he sighed. We're containment logistics. Matt demanded answers. The agent shook his head. They aren't aliens. They aren't animals. They're a rejected evolution branch. We kept them underground because surface radiation changes them. Matt's stomach turned. Changes how? The man's eyes dropped. They learn faster. He slid Matt a sealed envelope. Do not open this until the siren stops, and don't go home tonight. Then the agent leaned close, voice barely audible. You weren't supposed to record the return sequence. Matt froze. Return? Surface harvest, the man corrected. They don't hunt individuals. They collect patterns. As Matt pulled away, he noticed marks on the SUV's windows. 3 vertical streaks. Condensation dents matching his own, not teeth. Mapping points. When the siren finally faded, Matt opened the envelope. Inside was a single sentence. They remember by sound. They choose by silence. Outside his windshield, pine needles fluttered in 3 spirals. Matt hasn't returned to Fort Cinder Point since that night. He moved to a new address, switched phones, closed every social platform. But silence didn't save him. Because sometimes, after the power dips in his neighborhood, he hears clicking through the vents. 3 taps, answered by 3 more somewhere across the house. Witnesses nearby are vanishing again. Spiral patterns show up on porches. Pets refuse to go outside. Matt's warning is simple. If you hear the double-tone siren, don't speak, don't breathe loudly, don't run. Because when the surface cycles begin, the watchers aren't hunting flesh. They're hunting recognition. And once they remember your sound, they don't forget.